So welcome to this edition of Cooking Innovations. I'm Leanne Anderson, certified diabetes educator and registered dietitian nutritionist with CHI St. Luke's Health Memorial with the Polk Education Center. Today our guest is Joel Redux. He is with the Angelina County Extension Service. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, thanks for joining us. We're going to talk about today ways to make some traditional holidays healthier. So, Joel, tell us first, before we get started, what you do for the Extension Service.
Okay, so Extension is basically the community education and outreach branch of the Texas A&M University system. Land-grant universities have education, obviously, research, and then extension. And so that's where we come in. We're in every county in Texas, and actually every state in the United States has an extension service. Most people are familiar with the agricultural side or 4-H. Not as many people know about what I do, which is more in the area of health, nutrition, and wellness. So just trying to educate people. Here in Angelina County is where I focus on healthy lifestyles, basically.
Great, and you're a registered dietitian as well,
yes,
right?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
All right, awesome. Well, what are we going to be cooking today?
So, since we've got the holidays coming up, we are doing a couple healthy versions of holiday favorites. We've got a healthy version of a green bean casserole that's not so heavy, a little bit lighter than the really heavy cream one that we're used to, but still delicious and flavorful and really good. Then we have a turkey salad that can be made with leftover turkey or chicken, if that's what you had, that it's got a lot of fruit and some vegetables and some good crunch and a lot of flavor, and again lighter than the traditional chicken salad.
Great. Okay, well, shall we get started?
Sounds good.
What have we got going?
Okay, so we're going to start by sauteing some shallots, and for someone who's never used shallots before, it's in the onion family, so it's similar to onion and garlic. The flavor's kind of somewhere in between there.
Okay.
It's a little more delicate flavor. It doesn't have quite the bite of onion, and they're smaller. They're about like this, and they come apart like garlic does, where there might be a couple bulbs. Like this one's a better example where you can see there's a couple bulbs in there.
Yes.
You can buy them in a little package like this. You can also get them in bulk, but you're looking for them to have a nice smooth skin. You don't want them to be wrinkly and look where they had a lot of moisture or bad spots on there.
Okay.
So we've got about 3 or 4 that have already been chopped up. So we're just going to get those sauteing here.
Okay.
In the pan. So I'm going to put about a tablespoon of oil in our hot skillet.
Let that heat up. And then over here, I think we kind of got a jump start on cooking the green beans, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, those look like they're almost done. We'll let those finish up while we do the mushrooms and the shallots.
All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and toss these in. Ah, and that's the best sound in the world.
It is, yeah.
It's going to be smelling really good in here. So, like I said, shallots are in the onion family, and if you have a recipe that calls for onion, you can substitute shallot. But if it's a recipe that maybe that calls for raw or fresh shallot, and you're not cooking it, I wouldn't substitute onion because it'd be a little too strong flavor if you're not cooking it. But when you're cooking it, you can pretty much substitute
interchange
them out.
The two.
Yes, ma'am.
They smell great.
It sure does.
So, what is your favorite part about working for the Extension office?
Oh gosh, we do a lot of fun stuff, a lot of cool things, but probably my favorite is whenever I feel like I can really make a difference in somebody's health. If someone came to a program and then I see them a couple months later and they say, hey, my weight's down, my blood sugar's better, I'm feeling good. And so that's really what it's all about.
Makes it all worth it, doesn't
it?
it?
Also, really enjoy working with the kids. We do a couple garden projects, garden and nutrition projects in some of the local schools. And it's been really fun to introduce these kids to fruits and vegetables they've never tried. I mean, lots of kids never tried broccoli, and then they find out they like it. It's really fun to see.
Right, and see where their food comes from.
Yes, ma'am.
Outside the grocery store.
Yes, that also, if they get to grow it and see it, and that makes them even more excited. So that's probably my favorite thing.
Great. How are those looking?
They are starting to brown, and that's what
Okay.
That's what we're wanting.
So I guess, am I correct in guessing that these kind of replace the French fried onion rings we usually put on the recipe?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, getting that onion flavor, and not deep fried like those. So we just used
Right.
a little bit of oil.
What are some other ways we're making this recipe a little healthier?
Well, one of the main ways is we're not using the cream soup. We're going to make our own sauce, if you will, with broth and reduced sodium broth. So also adding some chia seeds that are going to have a lot of fiber and kind of thicken it up without having all that cream.
Right. Okay. So you've got some mushrooms.
Yes, ma'am. We have some, what are these? Baby portobellos, are they?
Oh, okay.
And so not everyone loves mushrooms, but I do, and I think they're essential for this recipe. You're going to give it some good flavor. But we have 8 ounces of mushrooms here, and I guess we'll go ahead and put those in.
All right, yeah.
Now these are pre-washed here.
Anything, you can buy them whole and slice them, but I think as we've talked, we both have the same cooking style, and anything we can do to save a little time and make it fast and easy.
Right,
Am I
yeah, on this, and especially when it's just the right amount you need for the recipe. Since that was 8 ounces, it's like,
yeah.
Mushrooms are one of those things that I might forget about in the fridge, and they might stay in there too long and get wasted, so
Right.
sometimes I just opt for the convenience on something like that.
Looking good. I think these green beans are ready too. You want me to go ahead
I believe
and
so, yeah.
drain
We can
those?
go ahead and drain those.
Okay, I've got these green beans rinsed and drained.
All right,
And
great.
how are the mushrooms looking?
They're looking good. They've been cooking for about 5 minutes. You can see our shallots are nice and caramelized. The mushrooms have shrunk down quite a bit. We had just sauteed them in about a tablespoon of olive oil. I forgot to add my salt at the beginning, so I'm going to add just a little sprinkle of salt on there.
Okay.
Not too much. But those mushrooms and shallots are just where we want them. So we're going to add all this in with our green beans into our mixing bowl. All right.
Smells great.
Yeah, it sure does. I really like the aroma of those shallots. It's just a little different than onions, and the flavor is going to be a little different. So
Awesome.
I'm excited to dig into it in just a little while. And so we're making our sauce that we talked about. This is a lighter version of green bean casserole. So we're not doing so much cream. We're doing a little bit of butter. We've got a couple tablespoons of butter that we've already melted here. We're making our own sauce. It's going to be more of a broth based. So we're starting with our butter, and then we have some whole grain whole wheat flour that we're adding to that.
Adding a little more fiber.
Yes, ma'am. You know, USDA guidelines says to make half our grains whole, and really I say anytime you can choose whole grains over refined or enriched grains, you're better off.
Right, because you can pretty much replace white flour with the whole wheat in most recipes, or at least part of it, right?
At least part of it, yes, ma'am. I do whole wheat pancakes. You know, one thing, it wouldn't work well in like a cake where whole wheat flour is just a little more dense, but for most of your savory type recipes, definitely.
Yeah, that's bubbling nicely there.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and add our chicken broth, and we're using a no salt added, which I'm just going to add a little bit at a time. We don't want to add it all at once. And just try to get that all incorporated and mixed up. And once we do, we are going to let it cook down for a little while.
Okay.
But I'll let you stir that.
Okay.
And I just wanted to point out, I was glad, Leanne, that you got the unsalted chicken broth. Anytime you can pick no salt added, whether it's on your canned vegetables or your broth, you're going to be better off. Then you can control how much salt, if any, that you use. The good thing also I like about this is most of the time the unsalted or no salt added canned goods is the same price. A lot of times we have this misconception that healthier has to be more expensive.
Right.
But usually you can find that right next to the regular broth and usually for the same price is what I found.
And this has a great aroma. I mean, it smells like the regular high salt stuff.
Yeah, it sure does. I think it still has plenty of flavor. And with all these good vegetables that we're adding in, I don't think we're going to be missing it.
Right. So we need to let this, what, simmer a little bit?
We're going to bring it up to boil and then simmer it for a few minutes.
Okay, until it gets thickened.
Yes, ma'am. And I might put the lid on it just to let it get heated up a little bit quicker.
So how is the sauce coming?
It's coming along pretty good. Let's take a look at it here. Oh yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely
bubbly.
thickening up. I really don't think you're going to miss the cream of mushroom soup that's usually in green bean casserole. We've got this nice rich sauce here.
Right, awesome.
Smells delicious too.
Yeah, it does.
So I'll let you keep stirring that and kind of keep an eye on it.
Okay.
It's going to talk about what we're going to add in there just to jazz it up a little bit. I like using fresh herbs whenever I can, especially if I have them in my garden at home. If not, of course, you can find fresh herbs in the grocery store in packages like this. Thyme's a good one, real easy to use. So just comes in these little sprigs like this, and any kind of woody stem herb, usually it's easy just to grab it from one end and kind of run your fingers the opposite way that the leaves go, and they just come right off. So it makes it really easy. It's the same thing with rosemary, oregano even, anything with a woody stem like this. If you don't have fresh thyme and don't want to spend the extra money to buy it at the grocery store, you could use dry. Just kind of as a rule of thumb, with your dried herbs, since they have the moisture taken out, that flavor is a little more concentrated.
Oh, right.
So you might want to start with just using 1/3 of the amount that the recipe calls for, so you don't overdo it.
So instead of 3 teaspoons, we'd use 1 teaspoon.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
Okay, this is looking good.
You think that's thick enough?
I think so.
Okay, so we're going to call this a teaspoon. We're going to add that and just a little bit more.
Okay.
And then we are going to add
good.
just a little black pepper and just a tiny pinch of salt.
Okay.
All
I guess
right.
too, if you were making this and you were really trying to watch the sodium, you could leave some of the
Yeah,
salt
we
out,
could definitely
right?
just cut that out. It's not even necessary. So.
Okay. What next?
So we have those chia seeds that we talked about, and now these are great for kind of thickening up a dish. They are really high in fiber and in omega-3 fatty acids that most of us don't get enough of. So we're going to add those in, and that's going to help kind of give it that texture we want.
They kind of thicken as well, don't they?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So with that, with the chia seeds and the fresh green beans and mushrooms and all that, we're actually getting like 14 grams of fiber per serving. So that's about half of what women need a day. And so that's great for a side dish. All right, so we've got that all mixed up. It looks good. So we're going to just pour that in and incorporate it into our green bean mixture.
Okay.
Turn that off. All right. I'll let you stir that up, and we have a baking pan here that we've just greased already with some nonstick cooking spray just to get it ready.
Want me to put this in there while you do the next step?
Yes, ma'am. So while you're doing that, I'm going to add our other item that's going to give it some crunch. We have some panko breadcrumbs, and these are basically just, sometimes you hear them called Japanese breadcrumbs. They're just a little more flaky. They're not so fine ground, so they They hold their texture a little better and they give it a nice crunch. They also don't soak, because of their texture, they don't soak up as much oil and grease, so they kind of stay flaky and kind of light and crispy.
So kind of get that, replacing those French fried onions again,
yes,
right?
ma'am, yeah. So we're still going to get a good crunch with these panko bread crumbs. So I'm adding the rest of our thyme. I'm just going to kind of mix that in. This also, this thyme on top is going to give it a nice dash of color too to
Right.
add to it. So.
Okay.
All right, so we just get that kind of evenly spread across. All right, looks good. So I think we're ready to put it in the oven.
All right, so the oven, we set that on 400, I think you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're ready to
We'll
pop
stick
it in the
that
oven.
in.
Okay, Joel, what's up next?
Okay, so our green bean casserole has been in the oven cooking at 400 degrees. It's just about ready, and we've went ahead and had our all our prep work done for our healthy holiday turkey salad.
Okay.
So what we got here, we're starting out with is just 2 cups of turkey that's shredded. You could do it cubed or shredded or whatever you prefer, but that's great for when you have holiday
Use those leftovers, yeah.
and leftover turkey, and this is a great way to use them rather than just a boring old sandwich. It can get kind of old. So go ahead and toss that in our bowl there. And we're going to add a lot of great fruit to this to give it some crunch and color. And that's the way I like my chicken salad, or in this case turkey salad. I like it to have a lot of crunch. So we have a 1/4 cup of diced red onion.
Okay.
Gonna add that right in there. We have some nice purple grapes, just cut in half, seedless grapes. And then we did 1 medium apple. You could do a Red Delicious, you could do a Gala, you could do pretty much whatever you have around the house. That's if you have some leftover fruit from a holiday fruit basket, that might be a good way to utilize that. And we've got a couple stalks of celery, just finely diced. Of course, you could have that chopped not so fine if you like the bigger chunks. It doesn't really matter, but I like it this way where you can get a little bit of everything in every bite, you know. And we have some a little bit of dried fruit. We have some dried apricots, a 1/2 cup of those, just chopped up.
And one thing I've found in chopping up the dried fruits like that, your kitchen shears are a great tool to use, kind of go a little bit faster even.
Yes, yeah, that is a great tip, because sometimes they can get a little sticky too. And so it does make it easier to use the shears and make short work of it, especially if you're doing quite a bit. So we also have some dried cherries, which is going to give it some great flavor. And also beautiful color too. Just look how pretty and colorful that is with everything that we have in there. So I'm just going to give that a good stir, and then we'll start making our dressing. Okay. Let me set that off to the side out of the way.
Very colorful.
All right. So for our dressing, we have, to make this a little healthier, instead of doing a whole lot of mayonnaise, we're kind of doing part mayonnaise and then part non-fat Greek yogurt.
Okay.
I don't know about you, but that's kind of my go-to nowadays, is that Greek yogurt. I use it in place of sour cream, and in recipes like this where you can get that thickness and that creaminess without all the fat, and also you get a little extra protein with there.
Yeah, some of those probiotics even.
Yes, ma'am.
You get your spoon.
All right. So we'll just I think my little spoon might be a little better. That's a good idea. Okay, so we're going to sweeten it up with just a little bit of honey. All right. And then the secret ingredient that I think is going to give it kind of that special kick, make it different than your usual chicken or turkey salad, is some orange zest.
Oh, okay.
This is something that I love adding citrus zest to dishes, and most people think of citrus as being a tropical fruit. You know, you think of it for the summertime, but really December's the best time to get oranges. That's when they're in season here in Texas. That's where you can get the best grapefruits and satsumas, and they're usually the best price too. So we have a nice orange here, and we are just gonna get a little zest. You can use your regular grater. You can use a micro zester if you have one of those. Your box grater works just fine though.
Okay.
But we're just wanting to get that orange part. We don't want to get down to the white and get in there because it gets awfully bitter.
Right.
So we just want to give it a couple strokes till we get down to the white, and then we move on to the next part.
So, and usually a little bit goes a long way with the
A little bit
zest.
does go a long way, and we are looking for a half of a teaspoon.
Okay.
So yeah, this you don't need much, and so I usually like to. I'll go ahead and plan on if I'm zesting an orange or something like that, I'll plan on having it for a snack or.
Oh,
go
right.
ahead
Eat
and
the
peel it.
leftovers,
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Well, and reducing food waste is a pretty big topic these days. So I think this recipe too, you're using your fruit that maybe you got a fruit basket from, and even using the peeling of the orange, the leftover turkeys. So.
Absolutely. And so that smells so good, and it's gonna add a lot of good flavor to our salad here. So I'm super excited about this.
Looks yummy.
All right. So
So
now,
while you're mixing that up, what are some of your healthy holiday tips you usually tell your folks?
okay, well, the biggest thing is really just balance. You know, I love the holidays as much as anybody else. I love Thanksgiving, I love Christmas, I love all the good treats that are around. But the problem is just going overboard and then not balancing that with physical activity. So I try to tell people really enjoy the meal, you know, especially on Thanksgiving or a big Christmas buffet. Take the time to savor your meal, enjoy the time you're spending with your family and friends.
Right.
Don't make it all about the food.
Right.
Maybe just have one plate instead of two and really enjoy it. And then what do we do after we eat that big meal? Usually we lay back, watch a football game, something like that. And a lot of times we just feel plumb miserable because we ate too much.
Right.
How much better would you feel if you just, as a family, went out and did something active? Throw the football with the kids, go for a walk.
Shoot some hoops,
Shoot some hoops, spend some quality time together. So that's what I try to tell people. Enjoy the holidays, but have balance.
Right. And that's what we try to tell the people that we work with is, you know, moderation, not deprivation.
Exactly.
So,
I like that.
You know, but one other thing too is trying to eat the things you know you can only get at the holidays, you know, like the dressing. You can get mashed potatoes any day of the week, but the dressing, that's something you don't get very often.
Yes, ma'am.
So that came together really nicely.
Yeah, it sure did. Now, it would be fine just to eat this right away. For me, the flavors come together a little better if you let it chill in the fridge for about 30 minutes.
Okay, right.
But it'll stay good in your fridge for a couple days.
Awesome. Yeah, because that citrus will help keep the apples
Yes, ma'am.
nice and crisp.
But it probably won't last that long.
Probably not. Not at my house, I know. Okay, so maybe we should check on those green beans.
Yeah, I think our casserole is ready. So.
Magic.
And so that cooked for about 20 minutes at 400 degrees.
Okay, awesome.
And wow, it looks beautiful and it smells delicious too.
Yeah, those crumbs browned really nicely. Looks good. So Joel, this looks great. We've taken two holiday recipes, made them a little bit healthier. Tell us what we did to make these healthier.
So green bean casserole, that's a classic holiday dish, really heavy on the cream and fat. So We made our own broth-based sauce, added some chia seeds to add some fiber and kind of thicken it up without the cream. We also used some breadcrumbs on top and some fresh herbs. Got some nice crunch on top without the traditional fried onions, so made it lighter in that regard as well.
Cut back on the sodium quite a bit
Yes,
too.
ma'am. Also incorporated no salt added chicken broth, so that does make a big difference as well.
Right, well, looks great. And then the chicken salad, that's a nice
Kind of a
dish.
spin on chicken salad. We did a turkey salad that you could do with leftover turkey or chicken. Incorporated a lot of good fruit,
Those
both fresh
fruits.
and dry, and some vegetables. Just a lot of good crunch in there, a lot of good flavor. We went a little lighter on the dressing by using non-fat Greek yogurt in place of some of the mayonnaise. So this is a great way to kind of make a lighter, healthier chicken or turkey salad.
Right. Moderation, not deprivation.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Joel, for joining us.
My pleasure.
And so glad you could come and help us make the holidays healthier, one bite at a time. Memorial Cooking Innovations is made possible through the generous efforts of CHI St. Luke's Memorial, the Polk Education Center, Sodexo Food Service, and the City of Lufkin, KLTX Channel 15.